This video is going to be on scatter graphs. Okay, so before we look at an example of a scatter graph question, it's really important that we know a couple of key words here. So scatter graphs are graphs given where it's literally all of the data is put on scattered onto a graph, like the examples I've got here. Now, one of the questions that is asked is to describe the correlation of a scatter graph. So I thought I'd quickly show you what those different correlations look like. So firstly, we have a positive correlation. As you can see, all the data is going from the bottom left up to the top right. We say that it's increasing. Okay, so that is called a positive correlation. Okay, the next one, obviously the opposite, where it's going from the top left down to the bottom right, and we call this a negative correlation. Okay, so the last example here is where the data is just scattered all over the place, and we say this has no relationship or no correlation at all. Okay, so I'm just going to go through an example of a scatter graph question. There are three different things that they usually ask you to be able to do on a scatter graph. Sometimes they ask just for the one, sometimes they ask for two, or sometimes they ask for all three of them. Okay, so the first thing they could ask you to do is to actually complete a scatter graph. So this could be either partially complete it, one, so you have to put a couple of coordinates on, or it could be that you have to complete the entire thing. So here I've got a table of scores that students got on tests. So the top row is the scores they got on a times table test, and the second row is the scores they got on a spelling test. Okay, and we're asked to complete a scatter graph for the data. So as you can see, my axes are already drawn, and I've got the numbers from 1 to 10 up the side, and that's going to be for spellings. And then I've got the numbers 1 to 10 down the bottom, and that's for the tables. So what we're actually going to do here is we're going to plot each of these bits of data as coordinates. So the first one, we're going to do a coordinate of 3, 4. So 3 on the tables and 4 on the spellings. So if we go across to 3 on the tables, go up to 4 on the spellings, we put across here. Okay, the next one would be 7 on the tables and 6 on the spellings. So again, we'll do that as a coordinate along to 7 and up to 6. Okay, the next one is 8, 7. So across to 8 on the tables, then up to 7 on the spellings. And we can do this for all of them. Okay, so I'll just put all of them on now. Okay, so the next question they could ask you is to describe the relationship between the two pieces of data. Now, usually when they ask you for the relationship, they will accept one of those phrases that we just learned just a moment ago about correlation. So here you can see we've got a positive correlation. Another way of phrasing this is that as the scores in the times tables goes up, the scores in the spellings go up as well. Okay, so the last question is probably the one that most students lose marks on. This is where we're asked to use the scatter graph to predict a value that a student got given one of the values from the other side of the data. So in this case, we're given a value of 8 that a student got on their spelling test, and we're asked to predict what they got on their times table test. Now, the reason that people usually lose marks on this is because they don't use a line of best fit, or their line of best fit isn't drawn very well. So I'm just going to show you how to draw a line of best fit that will make sure that it's always accurate and you'll always pick up marks for this. Okay, so what I like to do is I just draw in pencil a sausage around all of the data. Okay, so after I've drawn that, I've sort of collected the area in which the data is. Now what I do then is I get a straight line and I connect it right through the center of my sausage, like this. Okay, afterwards, if you want, you can rub out the blue part, or the bit that you've drawn in pencil, the sausage, and you're left with a perfect line of best fit. We can now answer the question What did the student get on their times table test if they got 8 on the spellings test? All we do is we use a ruler and mark out from 8 to our line, and we go down from 8 to our line, and you can see that roughly we can predict that they should have got 8 on their tables test if they got 8 on their spellings. Okay, so hopefully that's helped you with scattergraph questions. Be really, really careful when plotting the points to make sure that they're 100% accurate, and use crosses to do that. When describing the relationship, make sure that you're going into your test knowing those different words: correlation, positive, negative, and no correlation. And lastly, on the questions where they're asking you to predict a value, make sure you're drawing a line of best fit. This is not just in order to get the accuracy marks, but also if you do get the answer wrong, there are method marks associated with drawing a line of best fit. So it's the best way to get as many marks as possible. Okay, good luck.